Hi friends, welcome to my channel. I am Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. We're talking 3D foundation from Seint Beauty today. If you are brand new, if you've seen it on social media, what exactly it is, how to get started. If you're brand new to it, say you've already tried it, maybe some things that no one has ever told you about it before that are all, in my opinion, need to knows in order to love this makeup. I'm going to be talking about all that and showing it to you as well today. So if you want to check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for being here. Okay friends, so if you've heard of 3D foundation, if you've heard of Seint Beauty, the first thing in order to get started is always a color match. So every artist has a different system set up in order to get you the best match. Me personally, the most important thing is the photo. So I'm gonna take you back and show you how to get the best photo, because I'm telling you, it is night and day difference if you have a good or bad photo based on what we need to see. And I get asked all the time if you can actually match from a photo, and I've matched over 20,000 women this way, at least to this day, over the past 6 years. I'm telling you, I can do it as long as the photo is taken a certain way. I can 100% guarantee your match. It lessens our chances of getting it perfect, or we're gonna have to make our best guess based on what we can see, or we're not gonna be able to color match you at all and ask for a new photo. So easiest thing is to just make sure you're taking it correctly the first time. So let me show you how. Okay friends, so you can perfectly see my face, right? And all of the colors in my face, neck, and chest, because I'm standing in front of a nice, big, well-lit window. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to tell how much lighter I get the closer up, I can only go so close, up I go, okay? Take a couple steps back. This looks true to tone for me, okay? So bear with me, this room, we're moving any day now, so this is probably the last video I'm actually videoing in this house. But notice the difference when the light is behind me. I will not color match to a photo with the light behind you, because look at how cloudy and distorted my face looks. The side light I get a lot, but look at the shadows that are on my face. Even when it's like up here or down here, it's just hard to see. So straight arms straight out in front of you, looking like you're looking out at your grass is all you have to do. Now, one of the things I get all the time is people turning on their lights. Okay, I can tell if your light is on in your house based on the shadow on your neck. But can you tell how much warmer, more red I look? That's because most people have just normal incandescent bulbs. No good. It's gonna change the look of your skin, okay? So a few steps out, straight in front of you. I need to see your neck and chest, because I'd say 75% of the people I match, they're all 3 different colors, and I need to know what you wanna match or how to make everything look cohesive the best possible way for your skin tone. Every face is different. So I hope this helps. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. A few things I didn't even mention that I need to, because I have seen it, is clean off the camera lens on your phone. If it's really smudgy, it can make your whole face look cloudy, which can be hard to distinguish between your tones. No filters, which I feel like is an obvious thing. Filters change the color of your skin. But you guys, I've even gotten black and white photos sent to me before. Okay. I feel like I gotta lay it all out there. Okay. I need it in color. I gotta be able to see the darkest points of your face, the lightest points of your face, your true undertone, and that is daylight. Okay. As long as I get that picture like I just showed you, I promise you I can color match you from a photo. All right. So once you get color matched, I have you guys fill out a color match questionnaire. What that does is it tells me exactly how you like to wear your makeup. Now, I know not all artists do this and aren't all as detailed oriented as I am, but I'm a little particular with how I color match. I've been an artist for a long time. Over the years, I am trying to just make sure I can match you as accurately as possible based on what you want, not how I would wear, or not how I would even apply the makeup on you. It's how you want to wear your makeup. So you might not want super natural, you might want full coverage, but I match you differently depending on what you answer on that form. And so it's important to me that you fill it out and then you tell me your preferences so I can send you like the best recommendations for all the fun things as well, okay? And I have you get started with the color match first because my color match response, when I match you, I'm giving you a lot of detail in that. And so that if you're just looking for more information on the makeup, it's gonna explain everything I go over in this video and more, specifically for you. So decide which colors you truly want. And I also recommend keeping it as a guide for when you first get your makeup so that you are ready to apply. I also will send you more information as well once you order, so that you are good to go before you even get your makeup, okay? But I wanna go over a little bit about what 3D foundation is. I am gonna focus on 3D because in my opinion, 3D is the easiest to start with. We also have Demi correctors, which used to be a completely different line. I think they can work beautifully for some people, but it's a completely new way of learning makeup. And so I recommend starting with 3D foundation, and then we can add in a Demi or 2 or 3, depending on the results you're looking for. But there is a slight learning curve with even 3D foundation. It is not a traditional liquid that you just slap on your face. So let's get started on what exactly is 3D. I'm gonna show you one of our new compact designs that was just released, and I'm gonna just start filling my compact with my shades and explaining what all of them are, how we use them, and then I will show you guys each one. Okay, when you get your fabulous package, you can open it up. These are the compacts. They're all magnetic, meaning all of our 10s are gonna just pop in there, and you can easily just pop it out to replace it when you're running out of one of your colors, okay? There are lots of different compact sizes. So this is my favorite. Obviously, I love a lot of options. I love this makeup. So this is a number 27, meaning it has 3 full layers in order to hold a lot of product. So this is the one I've been using, and it's got a full level of lip and cheeks and eyeshadows, and the possibilities are endless, constantly coming out with new stuff. So this is the new, I can't pronounce it, Noir Demure. Don't know French, but it's so pretty. And so this is the size that I feel like would probably be the smallest I would recommend somebody starting. This is the number 8, and it's got enough for 4 full-size 10s across 2 levels, okay? So it's really good to get started with like your face shade. This could hold your full face. It's just not gonna give you any options, but it is a really great small size for traveling. Let's see, this is the number 12. So this one's a little bit bigger. That one held 8. This one holds 12. So it holds 6 on each level. So it gives you a little bit more room to grow. And then we also have the 18, which is the same size as this 27. It just has 2 layers instead of 3. Those are the ones I'd recommend. There are other options, but I'd say when you got started, I wouldn't go any less than an 8, or you won't be able to put your full face in one compact. Okay, so once you get your compact and you got all of your 10s in this cute little Seint bag, you can start popping them in. So let's get started with like what exactly these are. I just wanted to tell you, every time you get a 10, at least save 1 lid, okay? You just slide them out and then you can pop them in your compact. But the cool thing is that these lids actually have a purpose. Let me show you. So when you have a full layer, instead of digging your fingernail in there and getting your finger stuck in a cream, all you gotta do is slide the lid into the side and pop it up, okay? So that way you can grab it easily. So save at least 1 lid. They're always super beautiful as well, so they're really hard to throw away, but you need at least 1. Okay, so you'll get in all your 10s, And then I always recommend putting it in the order of application. And so that's what I'm gonna go over today, is what order should you put them in as you're doing your face for the first time. And it will depend on how you were matched. So look at your color match questionnaire, and I'm gonna see what kind of coverage you're wanting. Usually it's my girls that want like medium to full coverage, or maybe both depending on the day. And those that have areas of concern that they're gonna have this first shade. So if you look at my face, it's a really good example that I do not have a very even skin tone, right? I don't have one color across my whole face. And the longer you wear this makeup, the more you kind of will be able to recognize your own face a lot clearer. But I will mark up your face and send it in your color match response so you can see exactly where you're gonna be applying every shade. So for me, for example, obviously I have hyperpigmentation all over, but it's lighter in some areas, meaning that or less in some areas, meaning that some areas of my face are lighter than others. So I have rosacea, so it goes across my cheeks, across my nose, a little bit on my forehead and my chin. Rosacea tends to be in a butterfly pattern. A lot of people don't know they have rosacea until they're getting diagnosed from a dermatologist. But if you have redness that fluctuates, you have some form of rosacea. Okay, so I do have redness. Today it's not bad, okay? Just depends on the day. But if you have rosacea, put that in your questionnaire, because I need to know if your redness is fluctuating. If it fluctuates, I have to make sure you're getting a shade that's going to take care of that depending on the day and depending on how intense it can get. Okay, so I also have hyperpigmentation. A lot of it is in my contour line here, around my eyes. I've got it everywhere. My entire nose is darker than the rest of my face. And then I have broken capillaries, and I have some under eyes that my under eyes are naturally lighter, but I have a lot of tones going on. So I've got blue and purple in the inside corners, but they're also lighter. So I have to kind of even out that tone as well. If I use one color all across my entire face, I would have to apply a lot of product in order to get a very even canvas that will last all day and not start breaking up on these darker points in my face and not start showing some of these darker points through as I go through the day, okay? So first thing is I'm going to drop in my corrector. That's not my corrector, my corrector shade. So the corrector shade will always be your very darkest highlight, okay? In Seint world, our highlights are what we call our foundation colors, okay? They look like a general skin tone tones. They kind of act as our traditional foundation per se, concealer, all of those things. Much different than a concealer. We apply them much differently. The order also makes a big difference. But the color is what is crucial in our makeup as opposed to traditional makeup. So traditional makeup, if I wanted to lighten my face and wear a lighter color and be lighter than the rest of my body, I could slap on a lighter color and it's not gonna wear any differently than a darker color would. With our makeup, that's not true. If you put on a lighter color, it will actually start breaking up on your skin. It shows more texture. It kind of increases the look of texture on your face, and it actually will wear off quicker. Okay, so the way I've found to kind of mitigate all of that is we use a corrector color. Now this is a highlight shade, but I call it a corrector because it is gonna match the darkest points of your face. No matter what that is, whether it is a dark spot or maybe you just have a darker nose like I do, or your entire face is darker than your neck. We gotta match that first so that we get all day wear. And so my priority as your artist is to make sure that you are getting the coverage you want and the longevity you want. Because I don't think there's any point to wearing makeup if it's gonna fade in a couple of hours. Like, who would keep wearing a makeup that does that, right? So even though it'll look beautiful within 5 minutes, we wanna make sure it still looks beautiful 5 hours later, okay? So the corrector is when I discovered how differently my makeup wore through the day when I started doing this method. That is why I teach this now. is because it was a game changer for me. Now, not all artists use this method, so know that you will see stuff on social media that is very different. It might work for you, it might not. It truly depends on your skin, your face, and how you want your makeup to look. So my goal is that I want to be able to use the least amount of product on my skin. Since this is cream makeup, it will move with your face. That means if you don't set it, it also can crease. And so there's some things we can do to lessen that chances. And one of those is using the least amount of product possible. The more creams you put on your face, the more chances that it's going to look cakey or crease, or feel sticky or tacky or rub off on clothing. I want to avoid all of those things. So I love this makeup because I can still correct, even out my skin tone, and it can still look like skin even with medium coverage. And so my goal is that if you want that look, you can't wear a shade too light, or you'll have to apply way more of that shade and then pack on powder to get it to last on your skin. You don't need to do that if you have the right colors, okay? So this is my corrector shade. This is Magic Mango. It's called Mango. I call it Magic because it was magic for me, and it is for so many of my clients, because it color corrects such a wide range of things. Now, it scares people because people are like, it looks orange. I will show you it on my skin. It will not look orange unless you're over applying, okay? So the key with this makeup is how much you're putting on. And it can be hard in the beginning because you're using so very little in comparison to how much of a liquid you are having to apply, okay? So just take note, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I get it on my brush, exactly how much I'm putting on my face. Okay, this is my corrector. Darkest shade is always applied first. Don't ever apply a lighter highlight shade and then try to put this over it. You're gonna get the opposite effect and you're gonna get it to wear off fast. Never put darker over lighter. You always wanna go from darkest to lightest. Does that make sense? This is my main shade, okay? They're only one apart. They're not very different. But this shade, you can probably tell from the undertones of it, doesn't correct very well. It actually makes me look very ashy and washed out by itself, but the combination of the two is magic. So when I'm color matching somebody, I'm not just looking at, oh, what generally is their skin tone? I don't match that way. I'm looking at what combination of shades is going to be perfect for them. And usually that is 3 colors, unless you have beautiful, perfect, even skin tone and you want a natural finish, or you just happen to be already at a corrector shade to where you're gonna need very little and it's gonna correct at the same time. But not all of our colors have an undertone that corrects things well. Some correct some well, but that is an artist's job in order to match you with what you need based on your skin and the tones of your concerns. Does that make sense? Okay, so this last color is the lightest. Now, if I was trying to apply this anywhere on my face without matching those darkest points first, this looks bad. It doesn't last. It creases more. It doesn't cover very well because I have darker points than that. So a lot of times you'll see people putting a brightening shade right under their eye. You can only do that if your eyes are very light as that color, and you don't have additional creasing texture, because a lighter shade, like I said earlier, is just going to increase the look of texture. So if you have mature skin like I do, this method kind of makes sure that we don't emphasize any texture, whereas applying a color too light directly to the skin is what causes more texture. It also won't cover very well. So like all this blue and purple under my eyes, this is going to offer very little coverage for. Whereas if I put this on first, then this, I can actually use less of all 3 of these than it would take me just to get coverage with this one shade. And so that's why this method is a little different, but it works amazing for mature skin, or if you have problem areas like I do, or you have a different color neck, this is the only way you're gonna be able to ever stay matching and get all day wear. Okay, so the combination of these highlight shades, it's what's gonna give you coverage, longevity, All of this is what's gonna give coverage. Now, we do have contours. The reason it's called 3D foundation is because we use a contour shade in order to put in the darkest points of our face, which is those shadows, those natural shadows. So this will give coverage, but so will contour. The way I apply is because of my concerns. So you will see some people just finger painting on and finger painting on their contour directly on the skin. That will work for you if you have no concerns where your contour is. When I do that, I can see my hyperpigmentation through this. So this won't give me enough coverage on my own. It doesn't really even out. It kind of just makes me look really patchy because of where my spots are. Depends on your skin again. So know that the way you apply this makeup is very personal to you and your goals. There are so many different ways to apply it, and you're gonna see a lot of them, but just know that not all of them are gonna work for you. There's a lot of methods I've tried over the years of experimenting with this makeup that I thought looked good at the time, and now I realize it wasn't my best option. And so just know that if you have redness, dark points like rosacea, anything like that, that the method I'm gonna show will give you better coverage and longevity of even your contour shade if that has been a concern for you, if you've tried it before. So the highlight and contour is what makes up the 3D foundation. This is your foundation. Now, the additional colors are the fun ones, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and drop in a bronzer. This is Bella. It's the most universal of all of our bronzers. It is a more sheer bronzer. So I know some people think it's like too dark and some people think it's too sheer. Just know that when you first get it, it's very creamy. A little goes a long way. As time goes on, it gets dry in your compact, as do all of our creams. As you're opening and closing them and letting them sit out, they're gonna dry out over time. You can melt everything back down on the stovetop, on your flat iron, on a candle warmer, whatever you wanna do. So like this one, how it's starting to hit pan, I can melt that back down. I can use every last drop of these creams and they last a very long time. I've probably been using that contour for 4 to 5 months by now. I can still get it on my brush fine, so I haven't melted it down yet, but it will last me at least another 4. Highlight shades will depend on how many colors you're using, how often you're applying your makeup, how much of your makeup you're applying. For a really natural skin-like look, I probably could use, oh gosh, I mean, my brightener lasts me probably close to a year. My main shade maybe 6 months. My color corrector probably 6 as well. I don't go through them very fast, guys. Bronzer, even longer than that. My most fun of everything is lip and cheek colors. So these are both a blush and a lip color. This color is actually coming back in May. It might already be May by the time I post this. It is Ibiza and it was a limited edition shade. It immediately sold out and it hadn't ever come back. And now it's gonna be a permanent color. It is so good. So I had to use it. Lip and cheeks are the most fun part about this makeup. I love to mix and match. I might have to add another color so I can show you guys, but you can just go with one shade. If you go with one, it's probably gonna run out a lot faster. If you have a collection, which I promise you're gonna want once you start playing with this makeup, it's gonna take you over a year to go through one at least. I don't know if I've ever even gone through a complete shade before because I have them all and I'm always mixing them. Maybe I have. I have multiples of every shade though too. I should premise that. Okay, and then the last of the actual 3D foundation colors is gonna be your Illuminator. So if you can see, this is what has that, it catches that light. It's your shimmery color. It's what in makeup world they call the highlighter that you put up here. We do have creams and powders. I recommend the creams for those getting started. They are extremely natural and you can use them a multitude of ways. And then I'm gonna go ahead and throw in our vanilla dust, which is our setting powder. When you're brand new to this makeup, you do want to try to set it. So there is an adjustment phase. These creams are occlusive, okay? So bear with me, the scientist comes out in me a little bit. Occlusive means that it's gonna sit on top of your skin. So they do not absorb in the skin. They're too large to penetrate the skin. They will not break you out because they're too large to go in your pores. They sit on top of the skin and actually prevent your face from losing water through the day. It's called transepidermal water loss. So what that means is that if your skin is used to a powder or a traditional liquid foundation, traditional liquid goes onto the skin wet, and then all that water evaporates, and all it does is leave that pigment behind on your skin. That's why it cracks over time. Okay, so our makeup won't crack because it never evaporates. So what you see is what you get. You put it on the skin and it stays there. But what that means is that all of that water loss that used to be able to go out of your skin, especially if you were using a liquid or a powder, means you're no longer losing all of that excess water, which is good for your skin because it will actually plump up your fine lines. It will actually help balance your skin if you're oily over time. Water and moisture is a great thing, but it can make you feel a little tackier when you're starting out. It takes about, I'd say, 4 to 6 weeks for your skin to adjust. And then you might not need a powder anymore. If you're oily, you might not need a fine primer or anything like that. But when you're first starting, I recommend at least using vanilla dust. Our vanilla dust is a very finely milled powder. So it's gonna give very little oil absorption. If you're oily, you might need a heavier powder, and then you might be able to switch to this. But all those tips I give you in the very first email after you order, depending on your skin type, all of my recommendations I will give you. But I'm just saying, I still set under my eyes because my eyes have a lot of texture and I'm prone to creasing because I move my eyes so much, okay? I'll show you how to prevent that as well. Okay, I'm just gonna drop in a couple of eyeshadows because I've got a little bit more room, my brow color, and maybe a color to set. And I'm gonna show you how you can use bronzer on the eyes. If you have a matte lip and cheek, you can use that as eyeshadow too. These colors are extremely multi-purpose, so there's a lot of cool tips and tricks you can use once you learn the makeup. But let's go ahead and do my face with just this top layer of my palette and get started, shall we? So when it comes to tools, I'm always asked what are the brushes I recommend. I don't recommend my method of application without the Perfector. And I get asked all the time if this is similar to others on the market. Once you try it, you'll see that it is not. Whereas other ones are meant to apply a liquid, this is meant to remove excess of a cream. So what it does is it will pull off excess. And like I said, these are so pigmented. The number one issue is that people apply too much the first time they apply. The first few weeks they apply. I did for months, I'm sure. Because I was wearing the wrong color and didn't know what I was doing. So I'm gonna try to help you guys prevent all of those issues that you can have when switching to these creams, which is so worth it because they look like no other makeup can ever look. So let's get started. All right, I am going to say my top 2 brushes of all of them are definitely gonna be the blush and bronzer, okay? This is the blush end. I will show you, I use it for highlight. This is the bronzer if you're a bronzer girl. The reason I like this for beginners is because this is really good for mature skin, picking up very little product, and you can use it in multiple ways depending on the coverage you're looking for. So this is my favorite. And then the contour, ride or die. I can't contour without this brush. This is the detail, okay? So this is the contour end, and then this detail end you can use for lots of different stuff. I'm gonna show you how I use it to brighten and for even eyeshadow. Many uses for this small brush, okay? We got our 3 tools, the Perfector and our 2 brushes and our creams. I'm just gonna prime my eyes real quick. And I'm cheating because I'm grabbing our balm. I put it in a compact, but we have lip moisturizers as well. All right, so now I'm prepped and ready to go. We're gonna start, what did I say? Darkest to lightest. So I'm gonna go in with my color corrector and I'm gonna hit it with this blush brush. Okay, since I'm in the middle of moving, I'm like, I can't even find paper. I grabbed some paper towels. I'm gonna show you how very little product. Okay, rule number one, you have no need to ever swipe in with a brush into your creams, okay? When you first get your creams, there could be a little layer on the top. I'd say just the warmth of your finger can warm it up very easily, okay? Because in the warehouse and storage, sometimes it has a little waxy layer to keep them nice and moist inside so they don't dry out in storage, okay? Now, like I said before though, they will dry out as you are using them out. Like you can tell, my contour is very dry, okay? But I'm gonna show you how I get that color on the brush since I know that's something I troubleshoot with clients all the time on. So for the corrector, okay, I know it's nice and soft. I just use my finger. I'm gonna touch it with very little pressure. That's it, okay? That's how much product I picked up. Very little, okay? Now I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna go to an area of my face. And the motion I'm gonna use is buffing, okay? When you're wanting something to just match those darkest points and correct, you wanna always start with that buffing motion to get the thinnest amount across the area. So that way you're always using the least amount of product possible. So what I do is I touch with the brush, and then this brush is really good at buffing. So I'm going to hit this entire area of my face with small circles. Okay, that's it. I don't look orange. You can't see a lot of product on my face. In fact, you probably can't see it at all. That's what we want. And then we repeat, okay? And this will allow us to slowly build up the product in thin layers. Now, once you've used the product for a little bit, you're gonna know exactly how much to dip in. And you're gonna know as the product sits in your compact longer, oh, it's a little dry, it's not picking up as much, I need to pounce in a little bit harder. And you will easily be able to kind of adjust based on how it looks on your face, right? And this also is how you can control what your face looks like on the daily. So the best thing about this makeup is that I can get a really natural, quick coverage, or I can get like full coverage glam based on how much I'm applying of these 3 shades. I never skip a shade. I need them all. I mean, if anything, I'm gonna skip my brightener if I don't feel like I need it that day, but I never skip my corrector and main if I want my face to last all day. If I skip my corrector and just go with my main, my makeup will start breaking up during the day. So it just doesn't give as much coverage and it just doesn't last. Whereas 3 shades might sound like you're gonna be applying more product, it actually allows you to apply less and get more of a skin-like look. I promise you, I've been testing it for years. So I'm just gonna knock out that redness. Did I already do this side? That's what happens when I talk too much, okay? So I'm just hitting the high points of my face, which is where most people have darker points. So forehead, cheeks, chin, and nose. Now my nose is kind of a doozy because it's so much darker. I tend to have to tap in a little bit more into my Magic Mango in order to get it fully covered. And then since obviously our noses have smaller areas that this brush doesn't reach very well, I tend to go in with that detail brush as well. So I'm gonna I got some hyperpigmentation down here. I'm gonna buff on and even out that area. And just look at your face, and you're gonna learn your face and what your face needs better than anyone else can. Okay, so I like this brush because it is fast to buff on that thin layer, and you're gonna use it again here in a minute, but we're gonna go ahead and switch to that small end of the detail. And here's when I like to kind of go in with a little bit more product of my corrector, okay? So again, I'm just gonna barely touch it and tap in. And then I'm gonna hit my broken capillaries, and you'll notice I'm still buffing because I still want a thin layer here, okay? We will get to the point where we're adding more product trying to build up coverage, but in the beginning, you wanna be able to kind of really, I don't know, I wanna say buff it into the skin, but it doesn't go in the skin. But the warmth of your skin, you'll notice, will kind of help it spread out and blend in. Okay, so my eye primer's dried by now, so all of those veins in my eyelids also get corrected by my corrector shade. Okay, that dark purple inside corner, this brush can reach really well. See, gone. Both sides. Okay, now under eyes are always a doozy. I have really detailed videos on just under eyes. I'm just gonna show you kind of generally how I do it on the daily. So you can tell my entire under eye is lighter, but it's got some blue and purple darkness in that inner corner. I almost do like a wash to kind of tone the whole area and to kind of get it to match the rest of my face. So first I'm just gonna go in and kind of even out that tone. Do you see how it kind of just, okay, my under eyes don't look orange. I just am trying to get rid of some of that light. It's almost like a light purple because you can see my veins through that skin. Okay, now that we've hit all of those points, I can go in and I can now tap in, and now I'm gonna press, okay? So now I'm going to press on where I need more coverage, okay? And this is how we can adjust our coverage on the daily. It's just a matter of how you're using your brush, what products you're putting where, okay? I'm also gonna dab in more, and I'm gonna hit this dark point on my face to build up coverage there. Okay, and I have hyperpigmentation all through this area, so that's why I pressed on more there. Okay, then you can analyze your face and be like, where else do I need coverage? I feel like my redness is peeking out right there. Doesn't take much. If I have any other dark points. Now, let me be clear. This step, you don't have to make them completely disappear. We're still going to be building up coverage with those other shades, but this will tone them down, match the darkest points, and help that longevity as well. You can always go back and add more, but you don't have to have them completely disappear at this step. Okay? That was just my mango, okay? I'm not pulling super dark. I'm not pulling orange. Whereas if you were to actually, this is why I don't swatch these colors, swatch this color, you'd be like, that's orange. There's no way that's gonna match you. And people get really scared of some of these shades. I'm telling you, you don't ever apply it at this opacity on the face. I mean, you don't even apply it at this much opacity. You're using such little product spread across such a large area. It shouldn't look like this. If it does, you've been color matched too light, or you're just way too heavy-handed, or maybe you even have the wrong brush. Certain brushes pick up a lot of product. These are not my favorite brushes for the beginner because they pick up so much. It's really hard for you to learn how little to apply, and they don't buff in the same way in order to kind of get that thin layer in order to get this method to work right. Okay, after we got our corrector down, now we're just gonna build up coverage, tone down this warmth a little bit. You can probably tell my neck is just a little bit lighter, a little less warm. And so that's why my main shade is just a little bit lighter, a little bit more neutral. And I'm gonna pick up that same brush and you don't even have to wipe it off or anything like that. As long as you're not swiping into product and getting way too much on your brush in the first place, you don't have to worry about like crossing your shades or anything like that, of mixing and muddying up your colors, as long as you're not getting too much in the first place. Does that make sense? Same thing. I'm just gonna barely kind of tap in. Okay, I got a little bit more because I'm gonna hit a little of a larger area. And now you'll see I'm almost just stamping the color across that portion of my face. Okay, I'm lifting and moving, and I call it pouncing or pressing. Okay, I'm not buffing now because I don't want to move anywhere that I put that corrector in a specific place. Okay, now I have more product across the larger area, so I just barely am touching my face. Okay, now you'll see I'm applying it everywhere, even where my contour goes. And that's, again, like I said before, I'm evening out that hyperpigmentation, so then when I go to put my contour on, it's not showing through and just making my contour look patchy. It's also toning down my redness. I don't even look red over here. If I was to not do that, every contour pulls red on me, all of them, because what it does is it just pulls out my rosacea. So continue to just press on your mane into the coverage you want. So this is where it's completely personal preference, whether you want to just put on a little bit, and even I sometimes use a brush that picks up even less to get a really natural look, or I'll pick up this brush anywhere from medium to full coverage. And then once you are more experienced with the makeup and you really know how much you're picking up, you can always switch to a full coverage brush for this step, which will pick up more at one time, and you won't have to pounce in and press on as much. But if I wanted more full coverage, I would just go back over here and apply more. Okay, same thing. I'm gonna go back in with the detail brush and just press on more where I want better coverage. I'm not going all the way up to my lash line, but I am kind of slowly building up that coverage and slowly going towards this lighter shade. So that way when I put this light shade on, it sits better on top of the skin. Otherwise, too light of a shade is just gonna look chalky and increase texture, especially under more mature eyes. Okay, so now I'm looking a little too makeup-y for my liking, but I'm not done yet. I'll show you how to kind of remove that excess like I talked about before, but I'm matching better. I've got good coverage, so I'm good. I'm at that golden spot. I know I can pull off this excess when I get to that step. Let's go ahead and contour. So I like to color correct and use my mane, and then I like to skip to contour before I go back and brighten, especially if you're gonna be nose contouring. So we're gonna go in with the detail brush. Now, the contours are always gonna be drier than the highlights. In fact, all of our creams have very different consistencies for a reason. They're all designed in a certain way. Contours are designed to be drier so they really stay put and don't move on the face. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with my brush at an angle. Okay, now this one isn't a new one. You can tell these creams were new. This is not new. So I'm gonna be pouncing in with quite a bit of pressure. Okay, in fact, I was moving the whole compact. Okay, that is gonna kind of get my contour on half my brush in more or less of evenness besides the big hole it's in mine. So that way when I go to apply it to my face, it's not too wide and I can put it right under that cheekbone. Okay, so we're gonna go we're gonna roll something. It's gonna be from about the top of the ear to the corner of the mouth. That is that imaginary line. And since I color corrected and have all that good coverage, it's gonna mean this will blend out better and give me better longevity, not increase the redness and not increase those dark spots. But that means I can't just go in and draw it on and blend it out like this. That, for one, leads to over blending and then you saying you can't see your contour at all when your shade is definitely dark enough for your skin tone if I matched you. But it also will make all that shine right back through, okay? You're gonna move all that product you just placed. You're not gonna have good coverage there. So we're gonna go back up and start at the top of the ear, and we're just gonna slowly tap. I'm barely touching the face at this point, and I'm gonna stop about the corner of my eye right there, okay? It will naturally blend in a little bit, but we wanna keep it out of the smile lines, no mustaches. We're just gonna put it right there to kind of give that ultimate lift to our cheekbones, okay? Now we're gonna start pressing a little harder, and it's gonna start blending that out, okay? So we're gonna go right along that. I feel like I even picked up too much. If you feel like you did, just kind of brush off a little excess. I always pick up too much when I'm showing a demo. Okay, now these creams actually blend out really easily, so that's why I don't recommend this motion. All you have to do is press, so that way you're not moving that product. Okay, now as I'm pressing, I'm starting to move upwards. Do you see that? So that way it's gonna ombre up across your cheek. We don't wanna pull it down, which will drag down the look of our cheekbones, okay? The whole goal of contouring out the cheeks is to lift, okay? And to give definition. So you're not flat, you have that natural shadow. Now, it's a personal preference depending on how detailed or defined your contour is. The longer you wear the makeup, the more you will like a defined contour. The very beginning, I feel like sometimes it can be hard to get used to this, okay? So get your contour blended the way you like it, then go grab your highlight brush. This is another reason why having two brushes is so nice, because this only had highlight on it. Now you can just kind of press and blur that line as much or as little as you want. So I always like to make sure this is really blended out. You don't want this harsh stopping point, but then I like it defined right there. And so I just kind of want that gentle blend like that. Okay, so just press, I'm just pressing. Now we're just gonna repeat on the other side. Okay, once you get your contour and then you put your lip and cheek over it, it will look much more natural. I usually don't recommend contouring without a lip and cheek color. It can look really jarring without that ombre effect from contour, lip and cheek, illuminator. Okay, foreheads are much easier. Okay, main thing with the forehead is you want to avoid like this white line between your scalp. So I like to tap it on. Where I want it, okay? And contour can affect the way your forehead looks. It's the magic of makeup, right? So if you have a really high forehead like me, you can bring it down lower, okay? If you have a wide forehead, you can bring it over more towards your temples to shrink this way, lower to shrink your forehead this way. The main thing is you wanna blend upwards into the hairline and downwards into your forehead. Okay, whereas a defined cheekbone is okay, you don't want a defined forehead. Then it just looks like you forgot to blend. So blend that down into your highlight, and if you still don't feel like it's blended well, just kind of grab that highlight as well, and you just kind of want it to frame out the face, okay? Now, jaw lines, we want to start back here, and we want to go up under the jaw. Now, jaw lines are great at like keeping us matching, so we don't have that dreaded like makeup line right here, okay? You can just go under the jawline and then drag it down the neck to blend. It can help if you have a lighter neck to kind of warm up the neck a little bit. But as you get older, you can also kind of use it to disguise jowls as you get better with the makeup. It's all about learning how to blend it, but there are techniques I have in other videos as well. I'm gonna do a really quick nose contour by just taking my finger into the contour. I'm gonna rub them together, and then we're just gonna follow that bone where it starts curving downward. And we're just gonna follow it all the way to the tip of my nose. Keep them as close together as possible. I'm gonna take that excess under my lower lip. I like to use the detail brush for that. Okay, easy peasy. Now, the reason I like to do that first is because then we can go in with that brightening highlight, because that is what really will make a nose contour pop. Okay, so then we can go in with our brightener. Okay, I will be honest, I barely brighten now. I used to brighten much more. It is a personal preference. The more you put under your eyes, the more coverage you're gonna get, because you're slowly building up that coverage, but you also have a higher risk of creasing or aging you. Just is a personal preference. I now like to barely dab in. I like to keep a small brush, and I like to hit the side of my nose, which is naturally darker. You see that? And up to that contour line, I skip this, which is an area of texture on me and most people, and I'm just gonna brighten this area right next to my nose, okay? Then I'm gonna look for shadows and hit shadowed areas only to trick the eye and make it look like I don't have eye bags today. Same thing over here. Okay, I'm pressing again with this brush and trying to use the smallest amount of product. Now you'll see as soon as you apply this, if you look really closely, it looks very makeup-y. Don't worry. There's a method to the madness, and it won't when we're done, I promise. I have more of a shadow over here for some reason, always. So I have to go a little farther on that eye. Okay. Now you can take your finger and go right down those two contour stripes. I like to put very little, if any, between the brows. That's another area that people can have a lot of texture, a little on the Cupid's bow. And if you are needing help staying matching, you usually want to do center of the chin, and you might even grab your big brush and press it along the jawline. If your neck is still looking lighter, then press it along your jawline, okay? Now, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of all this excess. This is way too heavy for my preference. Told you guys I like to see my skin. I want it to look like good coverage, but look like skin, okay? That is my goal. If that is something you want, I can help you do it for sure. Okay, my Perfector was dampened at the very beginning of this process, and it has been drying the whole time. I also made sure I had no drops of water I could physically remove before I sat down, and also dried it in a towel. Preparing the Perfector, when I learned how to do this properly, changed the way my makeup looked. So I have specific videos on that as well, because to me, this makeup needs this tool. It's the only way I can get rid of all of this. So now I'm just going to, literally, I'm just kind of pressing it along the face, and I'm not swiping at all, and I'm gonna hit my entire face. This is what's gonna pull off all that excess product, especially if you're new. Don't skip this step, or you will feel tacky. And if you feel tacky, you'll be like, okay, I need to put a powder on, and then you'll look cakey. Too much cream plus powder is what equals cake face. Let's avoid cake face at all costs. Okay, so I'm just gonna tap this everywhere. Blend the nose contour. Okay, anywhere you have issues with pores, you might have to use it a little more so. But if this sponge is too wet, you're gonna be pulling off coverage. If it's too dry, it won't do anything. It might blend a little bit, but it's not going to pull off excess. So there is a sweet spot. So now I'm really gonna concentrate it under my eyes. Those are the areas that I don't want it to age me. And I don't want it to look makeup-y. You see that? It looks like skin, right? Okay, Perfector is magic. Okay, now we can bronze if is optional. Totally optional if you want to do it before or after lip and cheek. I change it up on the daily. Bronzer is one thing you can do before your highlights. You can do it after. You can do it at any step of the process. You can do it the very last thing if you feel like you need it. Bronzer is only for warmth, okay? So if your neck is lighter, that's where you want to pull it down your neck, kind of keep you matching. Remember, like I said, it's creamy in the beginning. You can kind of pinch your brush if you need to kind of get it on one area. I like to tap again, because after that corrector step, I don't buff anything. I don't want to move any product around after that initial corrector. Okay, so I'm just going to hit like a C formation around my eyes. Anywhere the sun naturally hits, bronzer is a good idea. Okay, so if you're feeling washed out, and I always bronze my neck, even if I don't need it. Collarbones. Okay, I used very little, but I feel like it still helped bring in some warmth. Okay, my favorite part, it's lip and cheek time. So let's go in with Ibiza. There are 3 different formulations of lip and cheek colors, okay? So know that. All of mine are described in my color match with swatches and recommendations as well. So I like to go with that blush brush again. This one I believe is a little bit more sheer. So I think this, I'm trying to remember, is this a semi-gloss? I can't remember. So I'm gonna go in with a little bit here. Now again, blush is also strategic. I'm just going to press it upper part of my cheekbones, upper part of the cheek, along that contour line. I love this shade. It's like the most pretty nude, but not a brown nude, a more pinky nude. Not too cool, not too warm. So happy it's back forever. Okay, now I'm gonna grab another brush. I'm gonna use my same contour color to line my lips and then fill it in with that lip color. Okay, now, since we already perfected, I'm gonna make sure I don't have any creasing, tap that out on my eyes, and I'm gonna go ahead and use that vanilla dust. So I'm just going to kind of touch my vanilla dust powder and use the powder brush, and I'm just gonna tap that, okay? So you can kind of tell it blurs, but it also will prevent me from getting any creasing as my eyes are blinking all day. I have normal skin. All I do is kind of just tap in my T-zone a little bit, and anywhere I might be prone to creasing, and that's all I use the powder for. That and my eyelids. Okay, if you want a more matte look, these creams naturally will give a dewy finish for your skin. So if you want a more matte look, you can press on the powder anywhere you want it matte. And then I recommend the Illuminator, that glow factor, the very last step after your powder. This is the only thing I swipe into. So I do use the Perfector and swipe in generously. So that way all I have to do, again, is just barely touch my face and it will blend it in at the same time. This is Angel, which is just a nice pale pink. You can use it anywhere you want to glow. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into my tear ducts, under the brows, Cupid's bow. Now, if you want to take away that powdery finish and be a little bit more glowy, if you don't have oily skin, if you're more dry to mature skin like me, I recommend the setting spray. If you have more oily skin, there are some recommendations in my tips and tricks email that will work better for you. Okay. While that dries, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my eyeshadow and fill in my brows. Okay, so my Trust eyeshadow, and I'm gonna show you real quick. One of my favorite things is just using one of our creams. You can use a contour color, a bronzer color, or like I said, a matte lip and cheek for a quick eyeshadow. So I'm just gonna show you with that small end of the detail brush, a quick eyeshadow with Bella bronzer. How pretty is that? Now, if you have oily eyelids like me, or you like to put mascara on the bottom lashes, I recommend keeping that to a powder. So I'm going to use the eyeshadow brush and use just a little bit of a powder to kind of set that in place. This is Bubba, which is about the same shade. And since I always halo under my eyes because I feel like I look naked without it, I'm gonna use a little bit of this powder. Now, this will help when I do put mascara on my lower lashes so I don't get any transfer or smudging under my eyes. Okay, friends, there you have it. That is the final look from this one layer of this palette with 3D foundation. A little bit about how it works and why, and how you can get started, some things to avoid, some troubleshooting. I hope that was helpful. I'd be happy to help you with your 3D foundation if you're ready to get started. My color match request will be in the drop box below the video in the caption, and I will pin it in the comments as well. Fill that out and let me know how you like to wear your makeup so I can make sure I pick the best possible colors and application method for you. It'll all be described in your color match response. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and being here, and I'll see you next week. Love you. Bye.